Yesterday we were given the first teaser trailer for the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, a series that I feel like a lot of people are actually underestimating. However, for me, this is one of the Phase 4 projects I was most excited about, and you can find out why after the jump. I personally absolutely love this first look at Hawkeye, and the teaser showed just enough to answer a lot of questions while still holding back a lot of what we know is still to come. It would be extremely difficult to talk about my excitement for this series without first talking a little bit about Matt Fraction and David Aja's critically acclaimed Eisner Award-winning Hawkeye comic series. This comic run is one of my favorites of all time, and here's the premise. Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, became the greatest sharpshooter known to man. He then joined the Avengers. This is what he does when he's not being an Avenger. It's a gritty story about Hawkeye attempting to be the person everyone thinks he already is. This is also a series that sees Clint take on Kate Bishop, aka the other Hawkeye, as his partner, and watching their relationship grow as they make each other better Hawkeye is very special. What really makes this book stand out is the fact that Fraction and Aja use a variety of storytelling techniques throughout it. Non-linear issues, silent issues, even an issue from Lucky the Pizza Dog's point of view. I highly recommend checking out the entire run simply because it is that amazing. But why am I leading with this? Well, the trailer and posters show that this series will invoke a lot of the imagery and story from the comic. So much so that I recognized multiple panels recreated in live action while watching this. But back to the show. One of the questions I had going into this series is how they were going to handle Clint's family, which we get an answer to. In the trailer, we see him and his kids on a trip to New York for the holidays. I don't believe we see Linda Cardellini, who plays his wife in any of the shots, but we know she is around. I love this mainly because it is something that people do, which is go to New York City for the holidays to see all the lights in the tree and to ice skate, etc. Plus, this also helps get Clint into New York so we can establish this same setting as the comic run. From what we were shown, this show is going to be heavily Christmas themed, which I think is really nice. And in one of the shots of Broadway, we see a Captain America musical called Rogers, which is a play on the Hamilton poster. We actually see a brief clip of this stage show in the trailer that appears to be taking place during the Battle of New York. Tony, Natasha, and Clint are on the top row, while Steve, Bruce, Loki, and Thor are on the bottom. We even see some actors portraying Chitauri foot soldiers. There is a lot of potential ground for this series to cover, but one thing I do hope we see is Clint's perspective of this post-blip world as one of the founding Avengers. Now, something we know we will be dealing with is Clint's time as Ronin, as he sees someone dressed in his old garb on the news. I'm excited about this because Clint did a lot of horrible things after the snap, and now it is all starting to catch up with him. When we see this new Ronin on the news, they are clearly female, so I assumed it was Echo, who was the first person to use the Ronin identity in the comics, but more on her later. Clint sends his kids back home in order to deal with the return of Ronin and all of the trouble that comes with it. I actually think this is smart and a great way to get his family out of the picture while also keeping them safe, and putting a ticking clock on the series as he promises to be home in time for Christmas. As we see him say goodbye to his daughter, who is once again played by Ava Russo, daughter of Joe Russo, reprising her role from Endgame, we see that Clint is wearing what appears to be a hearing aid. In the comics, Hawkeye does have multiple bouts of hearing issues. He first burst his own eardrum to win a battle against the villainous Crossfire in Hawkeye number 4, a limited series from the 80s, which was fixed by Franklin Richards, only for Clint to lose his hearing later on in the Fraction run after a confrontation with the Clown, who is a character slated to appear in this series. And this causes him to wear a hearing aid designed by Tony Stark to combat the hearing loss. His history is later retconned in the series to where he always had hearing problems due to abuse he suffered from his father as a child. This is an interesting route to explore with the character, but one I am excited for them to tackle because we need more inclusion in our heroes. More characters like Daredevil, a symbol for the strength of the blind. Speaking of Daredevil, this series is set to introduce a major superhero that originated from the Daredevil comic series that also happens to be deaf. That character is Maya Lopez, aka the previously mentioned Echo, who was the first person to use the Ronin persona in the comics. We see her briefly in the trailer, played by Alaqua Cox, who is a deaf-born actress, and I am so excited to see how she factors into this series and if she will help Clint during his hearing struggles. If rumors are to be believed, then Vincent D'Onofrio may be returning to the MCU as Wilson Fisk in this series. And if that is the case, it is 100% guaranteed that Echo will play a part in that, as they share quite the history in the pages of Marvel Comics. We see a couple of quick cuts, one of which shows Kate Bishop in the Ronin suit, but it is cut together with the scene of her being attacked in a hood and mask. Clint intervenes and unmasks her, and she is revealed. Kate Bishop is played by Haley Steinfeld, a character that I am very excited to see in this series. Kate Bishop in the comics is a child of privilege who comes from a wealthy family and is extremely gifted in a lot of ways, one of which is archery. After being attacked one day in Central Park, she spends all of her time training to defend herself and hone her archery skills. She later becomes a member of the Young Avengers and takes on the mantle of Hawkeye after being gifted Clint Barton's original bow by Captain America during the time Clint was dead in the comics. In the show, it appears Clint meets her at a time where she is acting as a vigilante who's using a bow with homemade trick arrows, one of which appears to be made from a tennis ball. She's probably a very big fan of Hawkeye in the MCU and uses him as inspiration to fight crime using her own archery skills. I am really excited for Clint and Kate to work together because they have such a great rapport in the comics, and I want to see this partnership, this teacher-student dynamic that will give us insight into Kate's past as well as Clint's. Here's the thing, Hawkeye is the only Avenger whose past we know nothing of pre-Hawkeye. We get glimpses into the past of all other founding Avengers throughout their time in the MCU, but Hawkeye is always used to propel the story forward with his relationships to characters, whether it's Natasha, Pietro, Wanda, etc. He is the glue that kept everyone together, the man amongst gods. However, Clint Barton does have a super interesting backstory. In the comics, fleeing from an abusive father, Clint and his older brother Barney run away from home to join the circus, where he practices archery to hopefully be in the circus show one day. His skills are honed and he is turned into a living weapon thanks to training from the swordsman. And we also know that the swordsman is appearing in the series as played by Andy Dalton. So here's to hoping we get a look into Clint's past. Speaking of characters past, we get a quick look at Vera Farmiga, who is playing Eleanor Bishop, the mother of Kate Bishop, who was absent from Kate's life in the comics and believed to have died at some point. However, it was later revealed that she was working with Madame Mask against her daughter. Could it be possible that Eleanor is the mastermind of the series and Kate starts fighting crime to rebel against her mother? We can see at one point that Hawkeye still has the arm sleeve tattoo he was rocking in Endgame. Clint catches a Molotov cocktail and throws it back at what appeared to be the tracksuit Draculas, a mafia, a gang of villains that were the primary antagonists of the Fraction Hawkeye series. They also enjoy using the word bro, like every fifth word, bro. We see them a couple of times in the trailer, which points to them being a major part of this series. And there is also a chase scene involving a 1970 Dodge Charger that is an homage to a very similar car chase from the comics. During the trailer, we can see that one of their vans reads "Trust a Bro, moving service," a reference to how the tracksuit Draculas speak in the comic. This guy in black is most likely playing Ivan, a field leader of the tracksuit Draculas in the comics. During the car chase, we get another homage to the Fraction run as Clint is trying to find the right arrow amongst his quiver of trick arrows. As Clint and Kate jump off a bridge, Clint appears to be holding what looks like the suction cup arrow, which looks identical to this one from the comics. We get a glimpse of Lucky the pizza dog as well, which is a dog in the comics that Clint rescues from the abusive tracksuit Draculas, who threw the dog into traffic when it went against them. Clint rushes the dog to the vet and saves its life. And Lucky loves pizza. It's a pizza dog. So be prepared to fall in love with this character. What also is interesting is that we see what looks like Ronin at a LARPing type of place, with Clint also being there. Could this be Kate who's in the Ronin suit this time? One thing I have to mention is the amazing visuals we are getting with this series. I absolutely love the Marvel Studios card, as well as the title card. One of the best parts of the Fraction run is the style, color, and layout. And telling this story at Christmas time allows a lot more color to be injected into the series in a way that feels organic and natural. Plus, you get to utilize the snow, which is present at points in the comic as well. What is crazy is that this trailer gives us so much, but also so little at the same time. We know for a fact now that Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova will pop up in the series at one point. We know that the clown is going to be in the series, and we know that the swordsman will also be here. All of that plus the rumors of Kingpin cameos, and Hawkeye is lined up to be one of the highlights of Marvel's Phase 4. As you can probably already tell at this point, I am beyond excited to watch this series, and I cannot wait to talk more about it with you guys. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and comment down below if you are excited about Hawkeye. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep up to date on all the newest content we have coming out. And Until next time, guys, keep doing the things you love. Later.